In this video, I'll show some examples of a light, medium, and dark roast using the Fresh Roast SR540. My light roast will be a washed Ethiopia from the Guji region. This bean is on kind of the smaller and denser side of the other two. My medium roast will be, it's kind of a unique bean. It's a Laurina variety from Nicaragua. It's natural processed. It has kind of an unusual oblong shape, and it's almost like some kind of a grain. It feels very lightweight, but I think it's kind of more of a medium density bean. The dark roast will be a Sumatra. Now this bean is going to be the larger of the three, and it's generally considered low elevation, low density. Now I don't have three roasting machines. I roasted them at separate times and just spliced the videos into this side by side. And so here I've kind of queued up them to start at the same time with a kitchen timer. I'm starting at 0 time and then counting up. So I've started all the roasts from a cold start, so no warm up. All three roasts started with the same settings, fan 9, power 9, and 20 minutes. Now these are the maximum amounts for all those settings. In retrospect, I'm not sure this is the best way to demonstrate or learn how to roast. It's because when you get towards first crack and onward, it can get a little confusing in the video, but I did want to at least point out that not all beans roast the same, and even when you're using the same settings, at least for the first approximately 4.5 minutes, they can kind of look a little bit different, sound a little bit different. My goal with the light roast is to start maximum fan and power, fan 9, power 9. I'm going to reduce fan 1 time to fan 8 before first crack, and that's going to be about the 3-minute mark on my machine. And we'll probably hit first crack about 30 seconds later, about 3:30. And I'm going to just end the roast based on the color of the bean and just general sound of the cracks flowing and the typical time that I know works for this light roast, which is usually a total roast time of about 5 to 5.5 minutes. Now for the medium roast, I've taken a couple approaches in the past. Your first option is to use the light roast settings and just add some extra time at the end. So maybe add an extra minute or two. The other option is to add an additional fan reduction. So down to fan 7, right around when first crack starts to slow. Now with that approach, you really have to watch the roast to make sure you hit cool just right at the right time, since with that extra fan reduction, the temperature is going to kind of shoot up and the temperature may just take off on you. And finally, for the dark roast, I'll take it through first crack just like the other roasts, but then reduce the fan 2 more times post first crack so that I'm down to fan 6 before the start of second crack. Now, I've roasted all 3 of these beans before and had generally good results. The one I've kind of struggled with the most has been the middle one, the Nicaragua Laurina. It either tastes too bright and tight, meaning it's kind of lacking sweetness and the fruity flavors you get with like a natural, or it's just too flat and kind of roasty. So in the past, I've tried to stretch the roast using the first kind of method, meaning you roast it like a light roast and just add time at the end. But I don't think that's really worked out, so this time I'm going to go with kind of option 2. Okay, now you're hearing some outlier pops, the first crack. So I'm going to try to shut up and let you listen to the different roasts. here is what I ended up with. My light, medium, and dark roast. So all three beans started with 130 grams. The light roast ended up at 113.4 grams, which is a 12.8% loss of weight. The medium roast ended up at 109 grams, or 16.2% loss. And the dark roast came in at 104 grams, or 20% loss. And so how did they taste? Actually, pretty much spot on. The light roast, the washed Ethiopia, had really strong jasmine flavor, very sweet, very floral, some honey and peach notes. So I don't think I would change anything in the roast. It's really nice. On the medium roast, the natural processed coffee, I would definitely call it fruity and sweet, kind of more of a blueberry flavor. And so next time I roast it, I will stick with the same basic game plan and maybe just play around with the exact ending time. Maybe go about 15 seconds shorter and see if the fruit and the sweetness kind of holds up or maybe even improves. So I definitely don't think I'd go any darker with this roast. And on the dark roast, I don't normally roast or even really drink dark roasts, but if you are a fan of dark roast coffees, this reminded me a lot of the Starbucks Christmas blend, which I believe has a fair amount of Sumatra in it. This would be right up your alley. It's, big, chewy, bold flavors, kind of earthy and spicy, definitely a roast bomb. But fortunately, it avoids any really strong burnt or kind of ashy flavors. Sometimes with dark roast coffees, you can get kind of it's like you're licking an ashtray, but that is not the case in this one. So this one came out pretty good for a dark roast. So one last caveat, your mileage may vary. So your exact settings and timings probably will be different from mine. I've actually compared temperatures with some other home roasters with the same machine, and pretty much they're all a little bit different. For example, when we compared running the maximum setting of fan 9, power 9, ran it for exactly 3 minutes with no beans, the chaff lid on, no extension cord. A couple of us hit about 380 degrees Fahrenheit, a couple of us maxed out about 360. A couple of us was only 350. So who knows, it could be a different ambient temperature they're roasting in, different power supply at the outlet. And, this is a mass-produced machine. So you're going to have different copies with roasting just a little bit differently. For example, I guess if you were to compare the RPMs of the fan at different setting numbers, you'd find that they rotate at just a slightly different speed. But those slightly different speeds can have a meaningful impact on the temperatures. So just try it out. Go with the general approach. Start with maximum fan, maximum power. Reduce fan as you go along. You may have to go a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but you should be able to come up with the same types of roasts. There's other kinds of ways you can roast where you start slower, but this was just one I thought would be pretty simple for most people to kind of pull off. So there you go, 3 roasts. Hope it wasn't too confusing. And good luck and happy roasting.